James Comey standing by his decision in his handling of the Hillary Clinton email investigation when he alerted Congress about new evidence just days before the 2016 presidential election. And Hillary Clinton continues to say that that's what caused her to lose the election. Joining us right now is James Kallstrom. He is the former assistant director of the FBI. And Jim, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Nice to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Were you surprised at Comey's testimony the other day?
No, I mean, right from the very beginning, when the criminal referral came, a long, long time ago for the FBI to look into this thing. It had to be obvious to the director at that point that there was not going to be a serious investigation because the Attorney General would not approve a grand jury. So, I mean, look, it's a hard job being the FBI director. And I feel for Jim Comey, but I think for him to go along with this hollow investigation with no grand jury, no subpoenas, and begging interviews and begging to look at equipment and all this stuff, and have that interview of Hillary Clinton, and then to have him and his people, not his people, him, say that his people thought that she had no intent because she didn't know what was going on. You're telling me that this woman that's been called the smartest woman in the world, there was the First Lady of the United States, there was the Secretary of State, doesn't understand about encrypting secret information, doesn't understand about those networks? That is baloney. Wiping it off with a cloth. That was all, for anyone to believe that story, that's just their way out. Yeah. And then for the director to basically take on the responsibility of the Attorney General and let her off the hook after she visited with President Clinton on the tarmac, which was an outrage. Yeah. And then basically, I think he was trying to do the right thing by laying out all the elements. But they left all these felonies on the table. I mean, there's about 10 felonies they left on the table. And then to exclude all the other people that worked for her, they all got a pass. And then this notion of Weiner, Anthony Weiner. Well, what did they expect to find? Did they expect to find something on that computer that was worse than what they'd already left on the table?
Well,
I don't think so.
He said there were thousands and thousands of emails that were transferred from Uma Abedin to her husband, Anthony Weiner, on his laptop where, of course, he was doing sexual whatever.
Yeah. And most likely that's a federal violation. Yeah. That's a federal felony. So, I mean, there is a lot of disappointment in not the Bureau. The agents are doing great work protecting the country. The Terrorist Task Force is doing great work. I have nothing but the highest esteem for the agents. But the people running the agency, I mean, I have a problem with some of their decisions. I have no intimate knowledge of any of these investigations. Senator Leahy made this statement that, Giuliani and I had some kind of a pipeline. I never talked to anyone that had personal knowledge of any of these investigations.
Well, I want to ask you about that because that's now what people are focused on, what Leahy said in terms of information that might have been leaked. Listen to this. I want to get your reaction.
Anybody in the FBI during this 2016 campaign have contact with Rudy Giuliani about the Clinton investigation?
I don't know yet. But if I find out that people were leaking information about our investigations, whether to reporters or to private parties, there'll be severe consequences.
Did you know of anything from Jim Kallstrom?
Same answer. I don't know yet.
So your name comes up in the hearing as one of the people receiving information. Nobody leaked anything to you, you're saying?
Nobody leaked it. I would never ask for it. I wouldn't accept it. But I did talk to hundreds and hundreds of retired agents and a number of agents in the FBI that had no intimate knowledge of these investigations. That was a very compartmented investigation, like most major investigations are. So I never seeked it out. I didn't want it. When I was in the FBI, I would fire people for that. That's not how we should operate. So that's just all bogus, and Senator Leahy knows that that's bogus.
In my interview with the President Trump said that Jim Comey saved Hillary Clinton because of just what you just said, all of these felonies that they left on the table. And yet we still see this open investigation into Russia. We still see this, unwillingness on Jim Comey's part to actually call out what Hillary Clinton did.
Yeah, and people are very confused, and I talk to a lot of the public. I give speeches from time to time, And hundreds of people come up and say, what's going on at the FBI? You know, in the seems like inconsistent statements. You talk about this, you don't talk about that.
Right.
Okay? You have a hearing before the Congress and you're asked, do you know anything about the wiretapping of the Trump people? And the FBI director and the NSA director say no. Yet, there's published reports that there was a Pfizer order. So how could the FBI director not know?
Senator Rand Paul tweeted out something the other day that really I was struck by, and he said, did the Obama administration surveil all of the candidates? I think he was asking the question, was I surveilled? I mean, and you know, at the time when the president said it, people laughed at him. In fact, that's exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
And I guess one question is, after all of that we know about the servers, about the lying, and about the destroying evidence, why wasn't Hillary Clinton's interview recorded with the FBI? It was not on the record?
Well, the interview, in my view, was a joke. I mean, the co-conspirators were in the interview. She laid down all these rules about, you know, what could be answered and what couldn't be asked for. And I mean,
she said she wasn't going to come talk to them.
Yeah, the whole thing, in my view, was crazy. I mean, because they had no process. They had no grand jury. They had no subpoenas. They were begging people to turn over their equipment. And crazy things. On this unmasking, you know, if you can believe what's in the media, thousands of people unmasked. I mean, this is a serious, serious problem. This has the potential to show a little bit of a third world country here if it's true. I'm sure the majority of the names unmasked were for legitimate reasons. These laws are there to protect the United States of America. That's why it's so risky to step outside the boundaries of what you should be doing. You know, the National Security Council is not an investigative agency. The FBI is. So what are they doing unmasking these names?
I don't
know. The Attorney General of the United States, you know, needs to put a special grand jury in place and get to the bottom of what this is about.
Is Jim Comey taking this serious?
Well, he was asked about unmasking. I forget his answer was, but it almost sounded like he didn't know a whole lot about it. But I would think he would have intimate knowledge of anything that was FBI information.
Well, we're going to keep following this for sure, because this is a really serious situation. Jim, it's great to have your insight.